Yo. So, yesterday I was kind of mad at myself because I did a poor job of explaining something really cool and really useful. Uh, the object variables are awesome. Object tagging, as I call it, is the most useful thing I've ever discovered how to do in GDevelop. And I don't know, I didn't explain it very well. And I gave a bad example with my dash because I was like, okay, so even though it shows what it can do, it's very specific, and I wanted to show you something that you can just apply to any game, and most likely the game you're working on right now. Because every time I see someone asking about this, it's about bullets. So let me show you. I actually did it. So I was upset with myself. I was like, okay, just make the example. And then I did it. I was like, okay, I'm just going to make this into an item, right? So I converted my fireball into piercing damage, right? This stuff. Cool, right? So usually this is the kind of stuff people want to know how to do because it's finicky, right? It's tricky to like tag the enemy and still do damage with the same bullet, right? So how do I do this? I was thinking about it, and I thought about it all morning, and then I finally like sat down in front of the computer, and it was so easy, right? I did it in like 2 minutes. It's like as long as you start working with object variables and the whole tagging thing, it's like everything comes into place so easily. So hopefully I can give you a good example of what I mean by object tagging because it's so good. I- the moment you wrap your head around it and how to like start abusing the heck out of it, you're gonna put it everywhere because it's so good. Right. So I'm assuming that you don't need a tutorial on how to create a bullet and then shoot it. Because if you do, you're in the wrong place. I'm assuming that you already have some sort of shooting mechanism, and you're like, man, I wish my bullet would do something more. Or you have some kind of game that shoots bullets or whatever. And you want to know how to do this kind of stuff, right? That's what I'm assuming. That's what this is for. This is to give you the light bulb moment of going, wow, you can do that? Wow, that's so cool and so simple. And that that's the thing that bothers me the most is that I make this stuff sound complicated because when you try to put it in paper, it sounds complicated. Once you get your head around it, it's like, oh, it's so easy. You're just tagging stuff with a number. And then the number goes up and you tag a different object with a different number. And that's it, right? Right. So let's begin. So what do you need for this stuff to happen? One is good practice, which is what I keep telling you. Grab all the objects you call an enemy. I'll even show you this time. Let's go here. I have the object showing. Grab every single object you call an enemy, and you make a global group, and you put them in here. This is all the enemies that I have so far. And the moment I make a new enemy, I just put it on here. Because calling back on groups, it's so easy. It just makes your life so much easier and allows you to do stuff like this. Because these conditions will check every object on here for you. Like, you don't need to do too many finicky stuff. You just need to, like, call back on this specific group, and it'll do the rest for you. So, other than that, what else do you need? You're going to need to work with three variables. One, you need to create, which is an ID variable. That's going to be the one that just keeps adding +1. So go onto your global variables. Global variables. And then just add one more variable. Call it something that you remember. In this case, I called it fireball hit ID. It's just so this doesn't matter, right? This is just so I can keep track of all the variables because I have so many, right? So fireball hit ID, that's what I called mine. And you make it a number starting at 0. This is important, right? Because this is the stuff that keeps track of everything. So once you have your global variable, you go to the place where you make the bullet, where you create the bullet. In my case, this is it. Don't mind this. This is just me being a mad scientist and experimenting with stuff. So this is where I create my fireball. Press the button. If I have the mana, all that stuff, then I do all of this, right? So you go on here and you add the action. Where is it? Here we go. So before you create the bullet, order is important. Before you create the bullet, you change the global variable, whatever it is you call it, and add 1. That's all you need to do. And also, make sure that this only happens once. This only happens when you push the button when you want it to, because we're adding numbers. So if this is out of control, if this happens a million times, this is going to go from 0 to a million really quick. Don't want that. So just change global variable, whatever it is you called it, add 1. You're done. Then you're going to create the bullet. In this case, it's here. I create my fireball, and then after you create the fireball, you're going to add this. Change the variable. This is a number object variable. Change the variable, whatever it is you call it. I call it fireball ID. Of fireball, your bullet, and set it to the same number as the one adding +1, as this one. So all you have to do is just put set to and then the name of the variable, and you'll put it to the same number that to the same number as this one was at when this happened, right? Basically, add 1. It goes from 0 to 1, and then you put the 1 on here. That's it, right? So change the variable. This is an object variable. It's a number. You don't need to go to the object itself and create the variable. You can just create the variable right here, right? Global variables, it's good for you to create. Object variables, you don't have to. That's another thing that's good about object variables. You can just create them right here. You just add the condition, set the number to this, and you'll create the variable on the object. And better yet, it's to the specific object that was just created, right? This is the mind-blowing part. And I'm trying to get to you, to get across to you, is that object variables are specific to that one object that was just created. So, sorry. So what I mean by this is that when you shoot the fireball, right? You just put a 1 on it. When you press this button again to create a different fireball, the first fireball is going to have the ID number 1. The second fireball, it's going to have the ID number 2, right? This is not going to update the first one, right? Because the moment we tell it, oh, put the object variable of this specific fireball you just created to this number, that was it. The fireball's gone. You're not going to update it again unless you specifically tell it to, right? So this is gone. This is gone away with the number 1. The next one's going to be number 2. The one after is going to be number 3, and so on and so on, right? So anyways, that's why some of this stuff is so cool, because you can do so much with it. So after you do this, you go to the place where you collide. In this case, it's right here. Sorry, I got dry throat. And you're going to start with the for each object. If you already have a collision going on, just add for each object and then put this underneath, right? What you already have. And you're going to want to check, repeat for each either the group enemies or the fireball or whatever it is you call the bullet, right? I could put this as fireball and it would work the same. I'm actually going to change it, fireball, and then I'm going to show it again and it's going to work just the same. Because you just need to tell GDevelop to check one of them, right? One of the things that's colliding with each other. And then on your collision, right? See, fireballs colliding with enemies. Grouping is so useful. So your bullet is colliding with the enemy, and then you're going to add this condition. If the variable hit ID of the group enemies is equal to fireball, that variable fireball ID, meaning if it's equal to the object variable of the fireball you just created. And this is how you type in the object variable, right? And then you reverse the condition. So if it's not equal, right? So for example, you just shot a fireball, you gave it, you added +1 to the variable variable added to the fireball, it said, hey, you're number 1, and the fireball went off. Like, he's like, oh, I'm number 1, right? And the enemies don't have this variable, which is the same as having 0. So when the bullet collides, it's going to check, hey, what's your number? The enemy say 0. The bullet is number 1, so this is going to happen, right? And the moment it happens, you change, you make an object variable again. So change the variable. I call it hit IDs, the same as this one. Hit ID of enemies, and set it to the same number as the fireball object variable or the bullet, right? So the enemies have not collided yet. So their variable is 0 because it's not been created yet, right? The fireball hits them. It checks like fireball's number 1, enemies is number 0. So action happens. And the moment the action happens, it creates an object variable for the enemies in collision, not all of them, just the ones in collision, and sets them to the same number. In this case, puts them to 1, right? So this fireball does this, does the rest, does damage, whatever it is you do on yours. And then you can't do any more to that specific enemy because we only tagged the enemy that was in collision with the fireball. So the first skeleton in the line, let me show you. Oh, man. Maybe you're like, dude, this makes perfect sense. This made perfect sense 3 days ago. Stop. I don't know. Like, maybe I'm not giving you enough credit. Why I'm in the wrong scene? Oops. Oh, it's because I showed you the thing. Here we go. It's like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm talking too much and I'm complicating stuff that's simple, and it's annoying the bejesus out of me because this is so cool, right? So I create a fireball. I give it the number of the global variable, right? I press the button, it's gonna add 1, and then it's gonna put that number onto the fireball. And the fireball is flying around, it's like, oh, number 2. And then the next one's like, hey, I'm number 3. Right? This skeleton has not been hit yet. So he's stuck at 0, right? He doesn't have a variable. We've not created it yet. The moment the fireball hits him, it's going to put a number 3 on him, right? Because we're up to 3. If I shoot another one, we're up to 4, right? Now it's going to put the number 4 if I hit him with a fireball. These ones in the back, this one changes to 4. These ones remain 0 because they've not been hit yet by this fireball. And this fireball is still number 4. And then when he hits them, it's going to put them to number 4, next one to number 4, and the next one to number 4, and so on. When we shoot the new one, right, it's going to be number 5, and they're going to be number 4. So they're still not the same number as the fireball that's about to hit them. And then he hits them, changes it to 5. Same number as the new fireball. And again, fireball moves on. These are number 4. Changes to number 5. Stops hitting them. He hits them once, stops because they're now the same number. And so on, and so on, and so on. Right? So even though we're saying change the variable of enemies, it's not changing for all of them at once. It's only changing for the ones that meet the condition. That's why this stuff is so cool, right? So anyways, that was it. That was the last step. After you... Where's the collision? Right, repeat. Oh, no, that's a different one. So... Yeah, repeat for fire... And see the fireball thing? It did exactly the same as the enemies. So I'm going to change it back to enemies. It does no difference. You just need to either check for the enemies or check for your bullet. Right? It doesn't matter which one. So after you do this, it's fine. You're done. Alright? Because then every time you create a new bullet, it's like you're starting anew all over again. Like, this doesn't matter. Right? So just to recap in a more simple way, hopefully. So you create your bullet. You add 1 to the global variable that's making the IDs. You create your bullet, and then the moment you create the bullet, you give it an object variable right here on the events, a number object variable, and you change it to the same number as the ID you're generating. Just put it set to, wait, it's this one, set to this variable. That's all you need to do. And then you're going to go to where you collide, and you're going to add, if the variable, this variable, whatever it is you call it, of enemies is the same as the object variable on your bullet. And then you reverse the condition to say if it's not the same, right? If they're different. For example, in the beginning, the objects, no variable, it's 0. If you just created a bullet, the bullet is number 1. They're not the same. It's going to do this. The moment he hits, then you make it the same. You create an object variable for the enemies with the same name as that one we're checking. And you're going to set it to the same number as the object variable, the number on your bullet, right? That's it. You're done. And it just keeps on repeating. And then if you don't want the global variable to keep like going up and up and up and up until it breaks, we should do something about that. So, right. So before I do that, yours is going to be different because there I create, where is it? Here's my collision. So because I'm making a fireball that explodes, right? It hits the enemy, right? I'm not doing the damage calculation here. I'm creating something I call the fire impact, which is just a square and it's invisible. When the fireball hits the enemy, it creates this. And that's where my damage is coming from, right? Then I have it here. If the fire impact is in collision with the enemies, then it does the thing. Don't mind this. This is for items. Then it deletes the fire impact, and then it applies the damage. And then we do repeat for every enemy, and then we do the damage numbers. All right. You could just take this, the apply damage, and put it down here, and it would do the damage, right? I'm guessing that's how you have it. Like, I could just ignore this if I didn't want the explosion to have an area of damage. I'll just take this and the damage, and I'll put it all down here. I actually had it that way when I created the. Sorry, pardon me. When I created this for the first time. Oh yeah, so the number doesn't go crazy. It should be simple. This should be easy, right? Are you? So what do we call it? So the global number variable. What's the variable again? Oh my god. I have so many. At this point, I'm losing track. So fireball hit ID? Yeah, hit ID. There we go. I'm smart. If it's equal to, let's say, 100. Okay. If it's equal to 100, we just set it to 0. Oh my god, my mouse, where is he? There we go. Still blind. Sorry for the weird stuff. Global number variable. Fat finger 5. It's all cool. Fire ball hit ID. Yeah, I just forgot. Fireball hit ID set to 0. Okay. There you go. Now the number resets. It just doesn't go to 1,000,000. See, if you have like a machine gun sort of thing where it just shoots 1,000,000,000 bullets, like, right? Just make the number really high, like 1,000 or whatever. So it doesn't like keep on building up and building up and building up and then maybe doing something funky in memory. Yeah, it's good to just bring it back to 0. And that was it. I hope that one was better. Please, for God's sake, if you're watching this and this made any sort of sense or didn't, let me know. Because this is really cool. Because you can apply this to everything and anything, and it's so awesome. I don't know. As soon as I figured this stuff out, it's like, oh my god, I can put this everywhere. It's so easy. It's like, for example, I do this everywhere, literally anywhere. Lava smoke, the particle effects that I use on the lava, the smoky things, I use it here. Like, so if lava smoke is not on screen, wait, where does it start? It starts here, right? If lava smoke is on screen and the object variable on screen of lava smoke equals 0, then we start the particle emitter. And we change the object variable on screen of lava smoke, we set it to 1. If it's not on screen, we set it to, and it's number 1, then we stop the particle thing and we set it to 0. Right? It's so simple. But this is what is object picking. This is what's picking the objects to start and stop. If we don't have this thing, because, my god. So this is what I'm trying to come across. I had so many issues because I didn't know how any of this stuff worked, right? So I had so many issues where I couldn't pick the exact object that I wanted. And it's weird, right? Because you see multiple objects, you can point at it and go, that one, right? I was like, how do I tell the program it's that specific one without giving it a different name? Like, if they're all fireballs, how can I say the one in the middle, right? I could do it with positions, but then that's crazy, right? That's too much work. Then how do I do it? And this is it. This is like another language. Once you figure out how to speak with the program, then it's so much easier to tell it specifically what it is you have in mind. Like this one. I could take this off, but I'm sure what this is going to happen is every single one, like if one's not on screen, they all stop. If one's on screen, they all trigger. And you don't want that. You want the specific one that's on screen. If you add um, repeat for each object, this particle emitter, then I think that might work, but it might just constantly keep triggering while it's on screen, or like keep trying to trigger or whatever, while this specifically tells it, if you're not on screen, trigger to 1, and that's it. And now it's locked because it's on screen and it's 1, it's not 0, so it's not going to do this multiple times. So it's a 2-in-1, right? It picked the exact object that I wanted, and it only did it once. Sorry, I'm geeking out again, because this is cool, right? I love the idea of like talking to the software, talking to the program. It's like, how do I do this? Like, what's the right words to do this? And let me show you that everything's working properly. So we're going to enable enemies. And also, I took away the knockback. I think that's going to be like a negative of having the item on. Because with the knockback, they just go flying backwards. It's so funny. Because it's constantly triggering, right? I'll show it to you. It's gonna. God damn it! I'm in the wrong screen, aren't I? No. Hello? It crashed. Did this crash? Just to be safe. What's going on? Oh my god, am I gonna get a crash on screen? It's not loading. Okay, cool. Did something funky go on here? Hello? Okay, whatever. So, what if you go back? Why were we getting a black screen? You should go to the last one we checked. Oh, never mind. I know what was happening. Yeah, we were going to the empty scene, but I disabled the external things. That's why when I was pressing buttons, nothing was happening. It's like, never mind. No, it was fine. It was fine. It was a user problem. See, everything's working. And when they're close, like the explosion just blows them all up. It's kind of cool. Come on, get close. All right, so now, yeah, see, there's multiple explosions going on. Yeah, this is kind of cool. I like this. So, if anything, even if no one got what I was trying to explain, it's cool because I got something new. It's like I was wondering, like, what else to do for items, and this works. I mean, I don't like the aesthetic, of fireballs not blowing up, but as long as it's not like a graphical bug, and it's because you have an item picked on, like equipped, I'm okay with it. I much prefer it when they blow up. But this is cool, right? They're piercing now. Like, so I can just make an item that does that. And FPS, still potato. Don't know why. Don't even care at this point. It's like everything is so incredibly optimized at this point. It's like, I don't care. I really don't care anymore. It's like FPS is potato. I'll just hope that they improve GDevelop. Right. Anyways, that's me. I hope that one made more sense. And if not, let me know. And if you'd like, if you have any questions about it, if you're like, can you just explain something better or something else that you might think might be cool, just let me know. I'll work it out. All right. Peace out.